40 of Clips and Dip. We're
A
recording
live
this one. Yes, we are recording this one live on YouTube. That is youtube.com/@Clippers podcast. Come hang out. It's a fun time. Today we're kind of just basking in the vibes of what happened last night in Memphis. We're going to talk about the headline marquee matchup between Clippers and Timberwolves tomorrow on Sunday. I am Chuck Mockler. Adam Oslin is here. Will Updyke is here. Fellas, how you feeling after that game in Memphis? Adam, how were the callers last night after that game in Memphis?
It was overall positive, as you would expect. There was one guy still wondering why Bones Highland isn't in the rotation, and I had to explain, well, they brought in James Harden, and they have Russell Westbrook and Norman Powell playing this well, and they don't want to go with three guards out there on the floor very often anymore, so he's kind of the odd man out. It's unfortunate, but March is coming. I hear there's 17 games during that month, and I still think the skeleton key is going to make his mark on this season. At some point here. So overall, pretty good. What's up, Big Will?
I'm doing well. I thought that game wasn't the prettiest, but they got it done. I feel like somehow Paul George is flying under the radar right now. That is 13th straight game at 20 or more points. Yeah. He was absolutely unbelievable in that one. My only nitpick was going to be I like the box score was pretty good. Harden didn't score a lot, but I believe it was 9 assists, only a single turnover. But if you were watching the game, I kind of thought there were some moments in that second half where his passes didn't have like the accuracy and oomph behind them that we've come to expect.
Is there some tea being made? Do you need to go take care of that?
There is. I'm going to have to hop off for 1 second.
Go get your tea.
It's like tension being built in a big scene in a film.
That was
like
terrifying.
The underground tavern part of Inglourious Basterds.
God,
what is this?
That was crazy. Paul George, though, 37 points, 7 of 10 from 3 last night. He's hitting a stride right when we're going to need it. We're going to talk about that game after a quick break. I think the thing I was most excited about, other than Kawhi, 29 minutes, elite basketball on both ends. Tice and Amir Coffey are both hitting this stride together, which is really, I think, we know the top end of the Clippers is championship level, right? And I don't know if there were questions, but you do kind of wonder how the lower end of the rotation is going to perform and things like that in the playoffs. But Tice and Amir are playing exactly like the Clippers need the guys on this level and spot of the roster to play. They were part of that lineup last night. It was Harden, Norm, Amir, PG, and Tice. They were plus 14 in 12 minutes. Tice was doing a lot of good defensively. Amir kind of doing a little bit of everything. But that was, I think, the most encouraging thing to me seeing in that Memphis game.
Yeah, I'm glad we're okay to talk about Amir Coffey again. I had a relapse with receipt season when I was trying to bring him up 2 months ago. Like, guys, he's still on the team. He can help this team, and he has. And it's good to see Coach Lou have the confidence in him. Even he referenced the January of 2022 Amir last night post-game and talked about just how good he has been for this team and how you have to have guys like that just – fit in and can do a lot of different things and have that versatility next to elite scorers and playmakers like the Clippers have now. So Amir Coffey playing this well and offensively, that's kind of a bonus with him. But he's always been really good in transition.
Yeah.
He's always been, when he gets meaningful minutes, good from the outside. Amir Coffey feels like, a double of Terrence Mann out there at times. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what you need from championship level role players, from guys who can star in their role next to two elite wings and James Harden. So the fit's great. He can guard 1 through 4. And Daniel Tice, he was also very, very good, I thought, last night. And overall, the Clippers, again, they kind of did some work against this Memphis team. I know they are down many men.
Yeah,
but Jaren Jackson Jr. can't do anything against the Clippers. Like, he has been so bad in 3 games against them so far this season. I want to say the common denominator there is, of course, Big Zoo. But Tice, he had that putback in the second. He had a steal. He had a 3. A nice pass to Paul George for a dunk. A long outlet pass that was, where he found him going down the floor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was a bit
bucket.
of a surprising thing from Daniel Tice. You mentioned Zoo. Will, how disappointed were you that Zoo didn't wear the headband in the game that he was wearing in warmups?
You know what? I've always advocated for different zoo dues, but right now he's in a rhythm. He's got something going. I'd say it's probably best to just leave it alone. Don't if it's not broke, there's truly no need to fix it.
No new accessories is what you're saying for Zoo.
No new accessories.
He should keep his VC.
On court in his personal life. Go crazy, my man. But on court, he's got
dangly earring.
Yeah, he's on court. He's got something going. I feel like he's got to just stick with it.
I do love that. I want to look up the stats because he's recently started wearing Harden's new shoe. Zoo's been on Adidas. He's had like some Star Wars Adidas before and stuff like that. But he's recently been wearing Harden's newest signature model. Say what you will. Some people have their opinions on it. But he's been crushing it ever since he switched to that shoe. So
I love the chemistry between the two of them. It is like it's on a different level. He had that quote where he talks about them, which we've heard multiple times about them going through practice, like before and after practices, or going through the pick and roll stuff. And it's, not just James saying where he wants them to screen and where he wants the ball, but also how they can help improve. And he said something to the effect of like, I assume other guys did that with Zoo, but just that quote made me wonder, is that true? Like, is that what we've been missing? Is like someone just really needed to like the communication level? Obviously, we've never had somebody on the passing or basketball IQ level, or the point guard who's also such a scoring threat, which makes things a lot different. But the level of communication, man, like if you were worried about James Harden as a teammate, I think that all of your worries should be pretty well alleviated thus far.
Zoo wanted someone to care. I remember I saw Adam, you posted something about Zoo and Harden working after practice. And I remember there were fans, because this was when things weren't going super well for the Clips, and there were fans being like, LMAO, I can't believe Harden has to help Zoo. And I'm like, we need this to happen. Why would we be like, look how this has paid off. Tyson Zoo working together with James Harden. Why is more practice roasted?
I'm old enough to remember people saying they need Clint Capella. Zoo's not the right guy next to James Harden. He can't do
Gafford,
it. But to Will's point, you can't go under the screen with James Harden because he'll knock him down. So they've never had a guy like this since CP3 that is this effective, that is still, tail end, I guess, of his prime or just out of his prime. But the things you need from him on the Clippers are still prime James Harden. The vision, the passing, the basketball IQ, that stuff goes nowhere. And the dribble drive has been better and better over the last 3 weeks now from him, getting to the basket and getting downhill still. So, that combination has changed everything. The catch and shoot stuff we're seeing from PG, where he's at 47% now on catch and shoot three-pointers. That is clearly
he's taking more
James Harden effect. Yeah, he's up 10% on his frequency of catch and shoot shots from the outside. And his last 7 games now, Paul George is at 55, 51, 90 shooting splits on 27 points per game.
Damn.
He's in a zone.
Yeah. All right, this thing I wanted to bring up, this is from an old show that Will and I used to do. Some of you may used to listen to it. We do this when things are going poorly. We do this when things are going well. But this is the Updyke Fun Check special Joseph Rye Award edition, actually. So we have 2 names in this Fun Check. Joseph Rye Award on December 8th, 2023, predicted that the Clippers would go 14-6. Since then, they are 15-3. So they've already beat his prediction. I cannot believe.
Wait, how are there less games in there?
Well, because they've only played.
Because we still have 2 more to go in this prediction range. Okay, I was like, wait, that isn't adding up.
We still got 2 more to go. They've already bested his call. They've already bested the 14-6 mark from Joseph Rye Award. First question: how could he have so little faith in this basketball team? Second question: what do we think has been? Adam, you've mentioned it. This is the best stretch of 2-1-3 basketball. Haggle, no haggle.
This might be the best effing haggle. This might be the best stretch of Clippers basketball.
It is.
Yeah.
Period.
I've been saying it. This is the best regular season because obviously the playoff run in 2021, getting to the Western Conference Finals, and there were a lot of magical moments then. But you can't argue at this point that this is the best they've ever looked in the regular season. Brian Seaman saying it. He's been around this team since, I think, 2011. Like, he's seen some great teams. He was there for the 17 straight victories in 2012.
And I think if you look at the strength of schedule from that chunk to this recent tear that the Clippers on, to me, there's not really much of a debate. Obviously, there's the nostalgia factor and like there was novelty, I guess I almost want to say, to the Clippers in the early years of Chris Paul, where it was like, oh, they're kind of sneaky. They could kind of be something. Whereas in this era, the 2-3 era, much more is expected, right? Like it's not,
Right.
it's not cute for them to like to put together a win
They're
streak.
not
Like
plucky.
it's expected, right? Like
Yes.
nothing less is expected. And I think what's been so impressive is have they not only met those expectations, but they've exceeded them in a way that, I mean, we watch this team every game. We think about this team all the time. I would not have thought a few months ago that they were still capable of.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean that we talked about it, how the Denver loss was a huge took a very long time to get the bad taste out of people's mouths. The 6-game losing streak obviously difficult too, but they did everything they said they were going to do in the offseason. That's what we talked about, right? We heard so many good things in the offseason of our guys are going to play. They're going to practice more, which they have been doing. Like all of these things are going to take the regular season seriously. There's been one game that they didn't take seriously, and they learned from it. They got beat by a team that really wanted to beat them, and they learned from it, right? Even between that, after the Lakers loss, we see them immediately bounce back with an authoritative victory. The Raptors game, they didn't lose, but they probably wanted to play better than they did, so they came out, and it was a little slow against Memphis, but they took care of business with good process, not just by having more talent, but by doing all the things that they are good at and leaning into it to really just actually show like this is real belief. This is a real belief time for the Clippers being the best team in the NBA.
And I don't buy if they just had gotten that game against Denver, if they just hadn't lost to Memphis and to Brooklyn when they were missing half their squad, that we're at this point now. Because you needed losses like that. I think they can be blessings in disguise to get your attention and to fuel wins down the line. And I don't think the Clippers would have won 17 of the last 20 since December 1st if they didn't have those reminders of, oh, this is how you have to play. Every team, even championship teams like the Denver Nuggets last season, they got their asses handed to them at times by a team that was that should had no business being on the floor with them. Denver had some bad losses towards the end of, I want to say, March leading into the playoffs, where they took their foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah, they were so set, though, that I feel like
they did.
I don't know.
But I bet if I look
dominant they looked in the playoffs, I feel like it's kind of like
I bet if I look through their 82 games, I can find some games early on that they shouldn't have lost. Like every team goes through stuff like that, and it doesn't define your season, or it doesn't have to. And the Clippers aren't letting it.
That's what it doesn't have to define your season. It felt like older Clipper teams, sometimes the bad things were doing more to define their whole season, in terms of their mentality or focus or things like that.
Even when they lost by 51 to start the 2021 season to the Dallas Mavericks, did that define their season? No, they got to the Western Conference Finals. They beat Dallas in the first round. Yeah. It wasn't meaningful.
So the fun check, Will, 10 out of 10 fun right now?
10 out of 10 fun. Yeah, exceeding all expectations. There have been some moments in the last couple of games where it hasn't been the most fun to watch from what we've seen.
Some hiccups, yeah.
I think that's a given. I think that's a given in a long season. But I just feel like even when they're not at their peak, from what we've seen, we've seen enough glimpses to know that it's right there, right? It's just constantly bubbling under the surface, and that to me is very, very exciting. Even in some of the uglier stretches of some of these more recent games,
they're like the La Brea Tar Pits.
Oh, absolutely.
Just bubbling under the surface. So much to discover, exceeding expectations. Go to the Tar Pits if you haven't been. Adam, you're at 10 out of 10 on the fun check?
I'm at a Spinal Tap 11, baby. even when they have a first quarter like they do against Memphis yesterday, where they're down 3 heading into the second, and they couldn't really get their offense unlocked. They had 5 turnovers. They were stuck in mud. There was this weird flow to the game because there were a lot of free throws. You still felt like, oh, they're going to figure this out. And when it clicks in, Memphis is going to get put away. And they led by 20 with 4 minutes left, and the backups and the third-string guys did not play well. Who cares? It was still a dominant victory overall.
I do. Okay, I'm at a 10 out of 10 too, and I want to talk about this one little thing before we talk about the very important game against the Timberwolves in just a few minets.
Wait, you're a 10 out of a 10.2?
Wait, me?
Yeah.
No, I'm 10
What
out
about
of 10.
that point too?
Yeah.
Get there.
Brandon Boston Jr. has been very good in the G League. We see the numbers, we see the highlights. I know it's been garbage time. He's not using his minutes as well as I think maybe I guess I wanted him to see use these minutes. I know it's hard with the lineups out there, but like it's not.
It's just unfortunate because, you know, if you looked at this team and especially after the Harden trade, you know, people thought that someone like Norm was superfluous, right? Which has proven to not be true at all.
True.
We very much need him. He's very huge. But, you know, you go on down the line of guys who are already kind of fighting for playing time, and you have a score first. I mean, essentially guard, like a big guard, but you know, his skill set is essentially that of a guard in Brandon Boston. And it's just, I don't know really what you expect him to do. You know, obviously you want to see him like light up in garbage time minutes
literally that's all I want to see.
In the
I just
one
want to see him
skill set,
shoot a good
in the one skill set that he's at. I just think
he did against Phoenix at the end of that game.
Yeah,
that's
true. I just think with him, you a little bit have to grade on a curve because I think for offensive guys, if you don't know when you're playing next, I think it's really hard to get into that rhythm. Whereas if you're a little bit more of like a coffee type mold who obviously is higher up in the rotation, but if you're the guy who can kind of contribute all around even without scoring or
you're
even
Kobe
without the ball. Yeah, like I think there's a clearer path for you to not only get minutes, and while the box score won't pop, you can still look good on court. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think he can. It's not that I think like he can't not do. I just feel like we've seen him. It's been up and down with his the leaps he's
Sorry,
taken.
We're getting some Norm love in the chat. Got some Norm love in here.
Folks, Radizi Entertainment. Didn't Norm have 45 points in the playoffs? LOL. If you're listening to this, I'm reading this off of a prompter right now. Dude is a walking bucket. That's literally all he does is get buckets, and it's fantastic.
I think it was 42 in game 3 in that game where they got jobbed late by the take foul on Devin Booker on Russell Westbrook on a turnover. Like, it was a really poorly, one of the worst officiated games I could think of in Clippers playoff history outside of, you know, what happened in OKC in game 5 and some things like that. But no, Norm's been awesome. And I definitely had questions on whether or not, because he hasn't been as good as he has this season, I think defensively, consistently, whether or not, what else can he do outside of scoring, and can they find the right lineups where you can make up for him not being a great defender or just being undersized? And when we talked at the beginning of the season, we thought, oh, Norm could be a trade chip at some point, but that was before they brought in James Harden.
Yeah.
But that does look foolish now.
Well, and Norm is locked in such a different way too. Like, he's playing at a level that I think it exceeds what I thought it was going to be this year. He started well, but this is crazy.
To me, the Norm thing, like as a trade chip, was never an indictment on his talent. It was just, what other assets do you have that you could like realistically give up? And I think like Norm was kind of the easy answer. It's much less easy now after his, you know, longest stretch of healthy games as a Clipper. Speaking of Brandon Boston Jr., though, we got a comment here about Bones sort of not being in the rotation, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this. Have your thoughts changed at all on Bones as of recent?
Not really. We're playing the best basketball in the NBA. It sucks for Bones,
but not with Bones.
Right. I mean, yeah, like, again, this isn't an indictment on Bones, but like, I don't think anything should change right now. Maybe sure they're doing their due diligence to find, you know, a bigger four to put whatever, but Bones Highland isn't going to make this team any better right now. And again, no disrespect to Bones, but this team is playing so well. Like, I don't know.
William Blast, I think, was putting that in on our on our responses here in our chat log, at least on YouTube.
If I see a William, I assumed it's addressed to me. So that's why the comment was on here.
I call you Big Will.
This
is William Blast.
I'm Vane. If you want to comment featured on the stream, go ahead.
Just
put my
say
name in
William.
Who's going to put us on blast if we don't say it? He said, "My name is William. Will, it's okay to say it."
But you know what I mean?
All right,
like,
William Blast.
Bones
There's one William in this
team.
chat.
Guys, William, how are they going to get minutes for Bones without playing 3 or 4 guards out there? It is a rotation crunch. That's how it works.
I'll tell you how.
How?
PJ Tucker starting.
PJ Tucker. No, What if the Clippers simply just blew teams out earlier in the game? Then you get some more developmental minutes for these other
Sure.
guys.
Have they thought of that? Have they
I
thought of
mean,
that?
if you're up, say
All
30 to
right.
40 at the half, do you even have to put out the starters to start the second half? Maybe you start Bones in that scenario.
I think
Sure.
in the last time they had
Maybe.
garbage minutes against Phoenix, that was a game where maybe Jordan Miller didn't get any run late. And let me see on that. Yeah, he didn't
Someone
get run
smart in the
late.
chat is agreeing with me. All for more blowouts.
He didn't get run late in that one. Neither did Bones Highland. We saw Jordan Miller come on the floor against Memphis. What are we talking about? The Clippers have won 22 of 28, and we're talking about garbage time minutes and getting guys more playing time that aren't exactly ready for championship rotation minutes.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think there's going to be any room for Bones Highland in any garbage time tomorrow against the Timberwolves. We have to talk about that. It's the best matchup so far in terms of people being hopefully fully healthy. Anthony Edwards is questionable for that game. It was just released per the Timberwolves PR, so hopefully he can play for basketball's sake. We got ads coming up if you're listening to this. Thank you, William Blast. The Clippers are in beast mode. If you're listening to this, thank you so much. We got ads coming up. If you're watching, also thank you. We're live on YouTube recording this at Clippers Podcast. The ads have been loud for some people. If that's been your case, go ahead and turn it down. We got ads and then Timberwolves talk in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're back in at Clips and Dip. If you're watching this on the video live stream over on YouTube or twitter.com, we never left. That's just one of the many benefits that you can enjoy if you watch the show on YouTube or tune into a live over on Twitter. But we talked a little bit about a fun check, how the season's going so far. Obviously, everyone's elated. Now, got to take it back down to earth. Look to a very hard matchup for the Clippers as they take on the Timberwolves. Chuck, how are you feeling about this one?
I am incredibly excited to see how the Clippers look against, as of 3:24 p.m. on January 13th, a fully healthy contender team, right? This is going to be a really, really good game of basketball. I'm interested to see how the Clippers deal with the Timberwolves' size just in the starting lineup, basically from 2 through 5. But I'm really looking forward to this game. We're going to learn a lot about the Clippers in these next 2 games, just in terms of, maybe a little playoff implications and whatnot. But I'm hyped. I'm very excited for this game. Adam, what are your vibes heading into this? I'm tense, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I wish there weren't NFL playoff games competing with it, honestly, because it's such a monumental matchup.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Carlo Jimenez, radio voice of the Clippers, earlier today, and he was doing some deep dive stuff on Minnesota. And he brought up the number of, they have the second best winning percentage against teams over 500. They've won 65% of those games. So they've been really good against quality competition. They're 17-9 versus teams above 500. The Clips are 14-8. That's still good. That's still solid. And they really just turned things around, obviously, the last 6 weeks. Minnesota has been consistently great defensively from game one. That has been their identity. There was no question about that. And for people like me who said, I didn't love that trade. I thought they gave up too much for Rudy Gobert. That's the type of all-in move you make when you think you're one guy away from winning the championship. Well, now they're number 1 in the West, and Rudy Gobert has been great for them. But as I heard on the Lob the Jam earlier, and I agreed with this from Big Shot Bob Flom, and the Lob Murray was on with him after the Clippers won in Memphis last night. Lob, of course, on the road with the team. It's a little bit of the Utah Jazz team that we saw from 2021. And we know how the Clippers were able to take Rudy Gobert off the floor. Now they don't have Nicholas Batum, who was huge in that series, but he can be played off in a 7-game series if you go small and bring him out to the perimeter and make him guard out there. So as good as they are, no
Celtics
disrespect.
did that the other night to kind of put some late. There was no cat in that game, but that's what they did.
As good as they are, I still think OKC is the scarier team to me right now in a 7-game series. Sure. But Minnesota's great. And Anthony Edwards, by the way, he's been on his own heater. Last 10 games, 48% from the field, 42% from the outside. He's going to be in MVP conversations. He's been that good for them. And they just have a ton of guys and a lot of size in a similar fashion to almost what the Clippers saw against the Lakers recently. Now they're a better team and are trending in the right direction more so than the Lakers are right now. I mean, I don't know, it's still LeBron and AD, but yeah, the Minnesota Timberwolves vulnerable on the offensive end. Defensively, though, the Clippers are going to have to be as good as they have been with the balance they've had offensively as of late, where last 3 games, they've averaged 16 3-pointers per game and 58 points in the paint per game. So drive, kick, swing has been in effect for this Clippers team, and really the offense and analytically it's been flowing perfectly over the last week.
Yeah, I mean, Jane McDaniels is so good at the 2. Like, you look at that starting lineup. This going into that Pelicans game was a test of this pick and roll against a really good defense. Now it's the test against the best defense in the league. So I'm interested about that. Will, what are you worried about from the Timberwolves offensively? Maybe they're crazy efficient, but it's almost kind of like looking in the mirror a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like with the size. I think with big men shooters, I think that Cat could be in a position where he gets more shots on the wing, and we prioritize just keeping him out there and stranded, which generally works fairly well for the Clippers. I think it'll be a test for sure. You already mentioned the size, which is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how Ty Lue is going to work those rotations. We've gotten to see him give teams a bunch of different looks, and I think a lot will be said on how I'm assuming Terrence Mann is going to take that Ant assignment early, and I think that could really set the tone for this game if the Clippers are going to put it away, and not with ease. This isn't the type of matchup where, unless something goes very right for the Clippers and very wrong for the Timberwolves, this is not the kind of game that you put away with ease. But if you can slow down him, force Cat to do a lot of the work, especially pulling him out from the paint, forcing him to work more from the outside. I think that I really, really like that. As good as the Timberwolves are, I don't think of their offensive weapons nearly as on the same level as the Clippers, especially recently with the way that things are clicking. But yeah, I think that if they get a rhythm quickly, then it can be a completely different game, and I expect them to. I don't know. I think things could get it. I think it's a game where things can get out of hand really quickly for the Clippers. So the tone that they set on the defensive end is possibly even more important to me than what they're able to start doing offensively. Like if we offensively have a quarter, certainly like we did against Memphis, I think that's something that can be bounced back with if we're near the peak of what this team can do defensively.
Do you think we'll see, because Adam, we saw those doubles kind of scattered randomly against Ingram in that Pels game. Do you think Ty Lue will throw any doubles at Ant?
They've done this a lot more when they see a guy who's not a great playmaker. Yeah. They just blitz him.
Yeah.
They fire his way, put the double, and make him make a tough decision. And that's led to some turnovers and the Clippers getting out in transition, but it's a wrinkle for what they've been doing defensively recently. And Coach Lue brought it up last night, talking about how, we haven't peaked yet. We need to get better in these areas. One of them, he said, was changing coverages on the fly defensively and not having breakdowns on that end. So that will be big, I think, against Minnesota if they throw different wrinkles at them defensively, like what we just discussed with trapping guys who aren't their number one ball handlers. And once again, we should probably bring up that Mike Conley is a Minnesota Timberwolf and also a Clipper killer.
Yeah. He's shooting well he's playing well for them right now, which is not ideal.
Offensively, though, they aren't potent. They're 20th offensively on the season. They're 20th offensively their last 10 games. That, it is about their defense. So the Clippers can get stops, or should be able to get stops defensively against this Minnesota team. It's really who's going to be able to out-execute the Clippers' offense versus Minnesota's defense, or maybe Minnesota's offense versus the Clippers' defense in this one.
Well, and the Timberwolves turn the ball over. They turn the ball over like the 4th most times in the league, I think, maybe 3rd most. So, like, that's an opportunity for the Clippers to show some of this, we want to run more when it matters stuff. That's a way, kind of, Will, you were talking about, if the half-court offense isn't working, there should be some opportunities to get points in transition. I was looking at their pick and roll stats because they have Conley, so I was wondering who runs the pick and roll a lot on their team. Anthony Edwards has a higher pick and roll frequency as the ball handler per stats on NBA than Mike Conley does.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of a trip.
Ant is smaller than I think people realize at times. Hence the
he's
name Ant.
big,
he's sturdy.
but he's not. Yeah, he's
But I would imagine him running as much pick and roll is probably what contributes to some of their turnovers. He's less experienced in that area, but he is the more dynamic scoring threat. So I think it makes sense that you want to try to elevate that playmaking and use someone a little bit more potent to try to get the offense going in that way.
His leaping ability has kind of misguided people into thinking that he's 6'7" or 6'8" when he's actually more Dwayne Wade, Donovan Mitchell sized out there at 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, that's a good call. Remember when we were talking? Didn't they list Kobe? Didn't you send us that? Crazy
Kobe used to be listed at 6'7". Yeah. That is a real thing. If you look at basketball cards back in the early 2000s, or even just in-game footage of starting lineups with the Los Angeles Lakers.
That's so funny. But yeah, I was looking at their pick and roll stats. Cat and Gobert they're not the role guy often for the Timberwolves, like not that often at all, but their points per possession is kind of crazy. Gobert is 1.16 point per possession when he's the roller, and Cat is 1.36, which is like up there in the kind of crazy range that the Clippers are in. They don't obviously run it as much as the Clippers, but that's going to be something to maybe look for if they kind of start spamming it and it's working. Like we have kind of a size issue sometimes if things get wonky. So I'm hoping the bench can clean up some or pick up some slack, I guess, offensively. But there's some weird stuff that's going to get thrown at the Clippers in this game because the defense is so good. I think both these coaches are going to try and find little things to spam here and there.
We also haven't addressed the 6'9" elephant in the room, which is Naz Reid, who routinely gives this Clippers team troubles. And I think that is going to be super crucial in those second string plus one of 2-1-3 minutes. Is how does Tice deal with that? If things break down there, who is going to deal with that matchup? Because I think that I mean he's a guy who just consistently gives us trouble. He's the Julius Randle of the Timberwolves.
This could be the Mason Plumlee coming out party against Minnesota because of their size.
Hell yeah.
Or return party where you got a little too tipsy, went to the car, and then came back inside afterwards.
The car.
You guys never pulled that move? I'm getting wasted here. I can't let anyone see me like this. You go out to the car for a little bit,
go for a drive,
go back to the party.
Go for the car.
Not for a drive. You know what? You're right. You shouldn't even be in a car. Not even a scooter. I'm just saying, you go outside.
We're from Montana. We didn't even leave.
You feel the chill of the Minnesota air. That sobers you up a little bit. Yeah. Naz Reid is amazing though. He has been the best backup center for a few years now. And the way that he can slither through, I was watching the last time out with Minnesota taking on the Lakers. That was the LeBron to won the line over the line game. Naz Reid has a lot of lateral quickness and can make some acrobatic layups. For a guy who is 6'9", he looks bigger and plays bigger than that, but also has just a lot of agility and wiggle out there.
And he also can stretch the floor in a more real way than Daniel Tice.
Thank you for picking up that. I agree.
I don't know. Tice just hit another three against Memphis.
That's true.
What's he at? 42% as a Clipper from three?
Averaging
huge
0.9 per game.
Yeah. Huge volume.
The bench. So I was looking because the Clippers have obviously been playing so well. The Timberwolves have been playing so well. I was looking at their stats over the last 5 games just on bench stats. It's not that far apart, which I was a little shocked by. Minnesota's bench is actually shooting better from the floor right now over the last 5 games, just by 1 percentage point, but still better. Not as good from 3, but the net rating, the bench, Clippers.
I wonder who on the Clippers bench is bringing down that percentage.
Yeah, the Clippers bench is +1 over the last 5 games. The Minnesota bench is -0.9. So these teams are really close. I was just a little surprised that it was this close. Just given how efficient Norm is and stuff like that. But I'm hoping. I mentioned this, Adam, on the double dip last night. But Norm has had a couple of cold halves recently. He went like 1 for 6 at half versus the Raptors and 1 for 5 at half versus the Lakers. They ended up okay games, but we can't have like not making it norm in the first half of this Minnesota game.
Yeah. That kind of speaks to a larger point of we can't have the Clippers get off to a slow start in general in this game. They can't start the way they did against Minnesota or against Memphis last night. They have to kind of click in from the beginning and be at their best right away against this team, or like Will said, it could get out of hand. There's no time, or there's not as much room for error, where we've seen this team out talent teams recently, Memphis and Toronto, and win that way. They're going to have to out execute against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But to your point about Norm, it's spot on. You know, you look at him in fourth quarters and the Powell Rangers. Norman Powell in fourth quarters on the season, 57% from the field, 54% from the outside on almost like 70 minutes now. But he has shown the propensity to get off to slow starts and then kind of find his way into a game. They need his scoring punch right away. And I'll say this, I thought Russ had a nice bounce back performance last night against Memphis, so maybe he's in a better rhythm. I think it was for the first time in the last 3 games he didn't have a negative plus minus coming off the bench.
We need that. We definitely don't need Russ to be a minus. Any other just kind of gameplay points, things we want to see before we go to the most important part of the pregame, which is of course the player of the game picks. Adam, Will, any extra points?
I think
cold. It's affecting the NFL playoffs. It could affect the Clippers game tomorrow.
I mean, hey, I hope not. All right, player of the game picks. Will, who is your Clippers player of the game for Clippers versus Timberwolves, 4 p.m. Pacific, Sunday?
This one is going to seem like low-hanging fruit, but I want to clarify. I'm going with Paul George. He's keeping the streak of 20-plus point games. Yeah. He had a season high last night. I think for the Clippers to get the win in this one, he gets a new one.
Oh, okay. Adam?
Damn. You're reminding me of the I think this was year 1 of 2-1-3, where PG and Kawhi both went for 40 against Minnesota in Minnesota. I think Paul George.
I think that was like the first game where they both popped, right? Because I think
it was like NBA Jam out there. It was just your turn, my turn. It was them two head to head versus D'Lo and Karl Anthony Towns, if I'm remembering correctly. It was just those 4 guys going up and scoring against one another. Yeah, I think Paul George obviously going to be critical to stay efficient from the outside like he has been. He doesn't have to go 7 of 10 from 3, but getting up 10 threes. We've talked about this ad nauseum for, 4 or 5 years now. Like, I've called him a 6'9" Steph Curry at times when he gets them up. There's only 4 guys since he came into the league that have made more 3-pointers than Paul George. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are 2 of them. The other 2, you guys want to guess? We'll see if the listeners can get in on this.
I don't.
Who have made more threes
since Paul George entered the league?
Damian Lillard.
That's 1.
James Harden.
That's 2.
Harden, yeah.
Well done, boys.
Yeah. All right. That's pretty good.
I think Paul George has been more efficient than both those 2 guys from 3.
And better at defense.
Yeah, a little bit.
We're getting some player of the game love for both Mason Plumlee and Ivica Zubac in the chat.
So, Adam, have you done your pick yet?
I have not.
I've just been agreeing with Will's pick, which was a great pick.
People are saying Anthony Edwards is questionable for tomorrow.
Yeah, he's listed at day to day, but he did play their last game last night versus Portland.
Okay,
I'm gonna be pissed off.
So it's the type of questionable that LeBron and AD have been for like a month now, where they end up playing anyways.
Yes.
I'm gonna go with. I'm not gonna go with Kawhi. That's too easy.
We keep getting spicy ones in the chat.
How about James Harden? Because scoring wise,
damn it.
Yeah. What's up, Chuck?
It's going to be so important. Go ahead.
Well, the assists have been great from him. He hasn't gone above 20 points since the game at Phoenix on January 3rd, so 10 days ago. I'm going to say he gets 20 plus in this game efficiently and still also has 9-10 assists, just a couple of turnovers.
That's great. That was going to be my pick, so I'm floundering right now. But I'm going to go. Someone mentioned that this is a homecoming for Amir Coffey. He is from Minnesota. He played basketball in Minnesota. I'm going another strong Amir Coffey game. I'm not, he's not going to score 20 points or anything like that. But we're going to see more of why Amir Coffey, as Adam has been clamoring for, and has been playing as kind of the perfect extra wing for this Clippers team. I think he's going to be efficient from deep. He's probably going to end up on the floor grabbing a rebound, as he has been very routinely. And then my number 2 pick, if James Harden is going to have a good game, that also means Zoo's going to have a good game.
2 picks.
No. Just an observation. But if you know what I'm saying, if Harden's having a good game, Zoo's also going to have a good game, which is going to be good to see.
Chuck's picks, though, since he picked 2, qualify as a parlay. So if either player has a bad game, Charles loses.
I lose.
Right.
The Clippers will hopefully win if both those guys have a bad game, but I don't know. The rim's going to be difficult to score on tomorrow night. I believe it's the number 1 and number 3 defensive rim in terms of opponent percentage or something like that.
Is that good?
I'm pretty sure Gobert is 1 and Zoo's 3.
I'm looking at, that is, and Kristaps Porzingis is in between those guys. And Minnesota is 4th in points per game given up by opponents in the paint. They only give up 46 points per game in the paint. So as you would expect, it's hard to score on that moat that they build.
Oof, it's going to be interesting. All right, before we get out of here, thank you to everyone for hanging on the live on YouTube. We got to give out a free hat. Not the one that Will is wearing. It is the same design and from the same game. It is not the hat you'll be getting. If you want the hat that Will is wearing, send us a dollar amount. We can talk about it. We're giving away this hat, this Clip City edition trucker dad, kind of a nice, modern cut.
I had to model it for the folks.
Of course. There we go. Luis Lemieux loves it. So we have to pick the best comment. Adam's going to send this out along with the Mexico Heritage jersey and the Zubac shirt. 2 international winners so far. So for our sake, let's hope this next person isn't living
DHL, baby.
somewhere else. So we have Siggy Small commented on the last video, hoping to win the trucker hat, as I am slowly being able to transition my family from Lakers fans to be Clippers fans. My wife really loves that new logo, and this would complete her outfit as she bought herself a Clippers basketball sweater for Christmas. Now, if I could only transition my 2 sons. Pretty good argument right there. The clip flip, as Will and I used to have a segment on our old
ancient
podcast, where we would bring a Lakers fan on and try and convince them to make the clip flip.
Which we did have 100% conversion rate.
10 for 10. White Ferrari 03 says, break the paint, flip the switch, tie the die, in reference to Adam's fantastic apparel. Thank you, William Blast, by the way. Fantastic apparel last. And then we have Danny Perez 9587, who said, I know I didn't win the jersey maybe, but thanks for the shout out regardless. Fellas, Adam, who is your pick for comment? Who is your pick for the hat?
I'm always big on converting Laker fans and turning Sauls to Pauls, so I'll go with the first one.
Okay, you're going with Siggy Small. Will, who are you going with?
The first one is definitely a strong one. I like the idea. I just like the LA support across the board, but I think I gotta go with White Ferrari, break the paint, flip the switch, tie the die. I'm gonna love any joke referencing this terrible shirt that I think the Clippers they'll never use that phrase again. I think that one will be lost. I
will never forget it. I will never forget that, just like I will never forget Chuck the Condor giving a World War II veteran a wet willy. So you're going White Fry. So I'm the tiebreaker here.
Yep.
I'm going Siggy Small. Siggy Small gets this one. Congratulations, Siggy Small. I got a little bit of another spice, though. I feel bad that Danny Perez didn't win the last giveaway. I also have a Clips hat, so I'm going to send Danny Perez my other Clips.
Whoa, double giveaway. Nobody's getting hands on this bad boy.
Adam, I'll send that one. Don't worry about that one. I'll pay for that one.
You want to send it to me, and then I'll send it also?
Yeah.
Or?
Now it's the race to see who gets to the post office first, and y'all know who my bet is on.
Way to go,
Baby.
Chuck.
Yeah, Danny Perez, you get a Clips hat. So DM me your address. That feels so weird to say. But
Drop
yeah,
the pin, bro.
drop the pin, Danny. And
I'm
congratulations.
outside with a free hat.
Congratulations to Siggy Small. Thank you for the comments, everybody. We're going to do a double dip after that game tomorrow. Adam, could you tell these people just what the heck is the double dip?
Oh, the double dip is when one of these guys join me post-game on Clippers Talk, the official pregame show for your Los Angeles Clippers, where we take calls on AM 570 LA Sports, and I take a secret call on the hotline from either Chuck or Will Updyke. Well, I just, you guys are celebrities. You're not just any caller when you call in.
Oh, sure.
You're big time now.
I can barely go to the taco truck. Yeah.
So one of our segments on Clippers Talk, if you follow the podcast, is these guys coming on too post game.
It's a very fun time. We don't curse on there because we do respect the environment. But sometimes when the Clippers play poorly,
some of the callers curse, but
yes.
You guys haven't.
That is very true. And Will, where can people listen to this, or maybe leave us some feedback if they wanted to do that?
Yeah, you can listen to this show wherever you get your podcasts. We're across all platforms, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Stitcher, Deezer. If you'd like to leave a rating or review, you can do that over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'd really appreciate it. Love to know what you think about the show. However, if you're listening to the show, it's really only one half of the full experience. And who wants to pay the same price to only get half? If you want the whole thing,
free show.
It is a free show. You can go over to YouTube. That's at Clippers Podcast. You can comment there. Like I think on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you're limited to one review, one amount of stars.
Crazy.
You could be commenting on every single show if you wanted to over on YouTube. And, without even watching the show, you can comment straight at us over on Twitter. That's at Clippers Pod. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much. We're going to be back on Monday with an episode to talk that game against the Thunder. Reviews always help us, like Will said. We appreciate it. Adam, anything positive to end really quick on?
Yeah, I think the Clippers, no matter what happens, they could lose by 62 to the Minnesota Timberwolves tomorrow. And I still would feel like they match up all right with them in a 7-game series. OKC is more of a question mark. I'm more intrigued by how they slow down SGA, and they will be getting the Thunder on the second night of a back-to-back as they play the Lakers on Monday before the Clippers on Tuesday, before the Clippers get 4 days off. So regardless of what happens in these really big contests and matchups in the West, the Clippers will have some time to let it marinate with 4 days off afterwards. And this team is still getting better. I don't think they are close to peaking so far. They're just scratching the surface of their potential. So there's a lot to be excited about, Clipper Nation.
A lot to be excited about. The concert started, and they are not peaking yet, folks. We will be back with you very soon with a double dip and then a full episode. Thank you again for everyone hanging out on the live. I hope everyone has a good weekend, good long weekend. And as always, let's go Clips.